No wonder there are so many entitled people who think they're so wonderful. Unpopular opinions from people afraid to speak their mind. Most people love censorship, narcissism, hounding, lack of choice, and abuse. They just hate it when it wrongs them. Looking around, most people love all of this when it helps their tribe. That tribe can have a population of 1 or 1 billion. Give any random nobody a position of authority, and see how they forget their roots and suffering. That's why most oppressive organizations start de-escalating protests by offering the head of the protests a position of power. Almost 30% of abuse victims turn into abusers, meaning even by experiencing it we still choose to do it to others. People cannot fight medical conditions or diseases. Either the treatment works or it does not. I have watched a close relative go through all kinds of treatments for breast cancer over the past 8 years. She has a huge community of people who love her, and with the best intentions they'd always say something along the lines of, "You can beat it. You're so strong. And kick cancer's ass. I know you can." And every time they'd find a new tumor on her body, after supposedly wiping out all of her cancer, she felt absolutely devastated that she wasn't able to clear the cancer from her body, and would beat herself up over the fact that she wasn't strong enough to beat the cancer herself. Obviously, that wasn't her fault. And obviously, everyone who had told her to keep fighting, all of the narratives that hospitals push to stay strong, they all mean well. But the truth is, whether you beat cancer or not, whether you learn how to walk again or not, and whether you are able to recover from any other medical condition or not, none of it is representative of how strong you are, or how hard you fought. I am not at all trying to downplay just how terribly great the emotional turmoil is to face something like this, and of course everyone who goes through these things has to be emotionally strong if they want to get through it. But the matter of whether or not they were physically fighting hard enough to beat whatever they're facing just isn't accurate. Either their body takes to the medication and the therapy and the other treatments, or it doesn't. They don't have any stake in whether it actually ends up working or not. Confidence is not a choice. You either have it or you do not. This is a real issue. There are still some people giving horrible advice like, just be confident. To people who have no reason to be confident. You're setting them up for failure and humiliation. They look at people who have a reason to be confident and think it's all in the demeanor when it's not. Those people are confident because they have what people want. If you do not have what people want, I wouldn't suggest pretending to because you're definitely headed for brutal rejection that you cannot handle. Young naive men and delusional wannabes are usually given this advice and it's wrong. People are too proud to be easily annoyed. People say things like, "I can't stand it when." "It drives me crazy when." It's usually something completely inconsequential like people say axe instead of ask. Or "I see someone butter a Pop-Tart." It's fine to not like things, but this type of thing is often said in a proud, indignant tone that no one would use to describe other shortcomings they may have. Making fun of a serious situation that is messed up is not out of disrespect. People say all the time not to laugh at blank because it's too serious or the matter shouldn't be joked about, but they don't understand that making fun of a situation is how some people deal psychologically with its seriousness. As if laughing at a situation is always out of disrespect, it's more like a coping mechanism to take the heaviness out of it sometimes. A means of self-protection for your mind, and when you do it, people scold you for it. Ice in beverages is terrible and ruins most drinks. It should not be standard to put ice in drinks. Ice takes up so much space and just waters down whatever you're drinking. The benefit of a slightly colder drink is not worth it if the drink now tastes awful.
Somebody replied,
I never thought I'd see a post on this sub that I actually agreed with. The truth is, you don't even need that much ice. So I don't mind a little ice, but I hate buying drinks where the ratio of ice to drink is like 90 to 10. Starbucks, I'm talking about you. Even when you ask for easy ice, it's still a 60 to 40 ratio at best. They do this to us so they can charge a price that makes you think you're getting a full cup of the drink, without actually dispensing that much of the drink. Seagulls are beautiful birds. Have you actually watched them fly? They are a majestic bird. I don't understand the hate for them. Is it because they are pesky or they squawk a lot? I don't know. But take a second when you can to actually observe one soaring above. They are really quite beautiful.
Somebody replied.
A positive unpopular opinion, this is new. But yeah, I agree with you, I like seagulls. Most people just view them as pests because they poop everywhere, I guess. It helps for me that I don't see them a lot where I live. Preschool graduation ceremonies with caps and gowns are not necessary. I mean, really? It's ridiculous that rising kindergarteners get a ceremony like they've just accomplished something grand. Why do people over-celebrate everything kids do now? No wonder there are so many entitled people who think they're so wonderful.
Somebody replied.
I've been saying this for years, starting when I first heard of 8th grade graduation. You don't really finish anything, you just go to a different school. Even more so with elementary and preschool graduations. I suppose back in the day someone even complained about high school graduation, thinking only university people should wear caps and gowns, since that's where it started. But at least these days when you graduate from high school it's a real change. You're done with the school system and can either go to work at a place that requires a high school diploma, or onto college or trade school or whatever. It is embarrassing that we still censor curse words, especially when the law requires it. It's just blatant puritanism, isn't it? I mean, really, who's harmed by hearing these specific words? Nobody. If you don't like it, change the channel. The loud beep is actually more annoying. Who cares if the guy in the car in front of you has hidden a swear word in his license plate? Why do we care about the opinions of the type of person who gets offended by that? I'm the type of person who never swears, and even I think it's ridiculous to force censorship on such arbitrary things. Most kids even know what the swear words are these days. Why are my tax dollars going towards regulating this? There are other examples of out-of-place puritanism too, but the curse word one is the most arbitrary and silly of them all. For all the people in the US who are so upset about government censorship and free speech, it's amazing this never comes up.
Somebody replied.
I always wonder, isn't a word being considered bad, an inappropriate kind of what makes it a swear word in the first place? So then, if it would no longer be considered inappropriate enough to censor, doesn't that kind of take the power out of the word and the satisfaction out of saying it? Graduation ceremonies are actually a bad experience. All I wanted during graduation was for that to be over. Leading up to it, I was just dreading those few hours where I would have to go through it. It's mostly for the parents more than anything. Sitting there for hours listening to some awful guest speaker, then walking up to get a flimsy piece of paper, and then waiting for everyone else to get theirs. The movement to become less dependent on cars would be more successful if those promoting it weren't so pretentious. Like I agree with the general argument that society should make moves away from cars in favor of other modes of transportation, but if you're going to sit there and smell your own farts over it, all that'll do is make people ignore your argument out of spite. I don't need some dude lecturing me about how much more cultured and superior they are because they use a bike and have been enlightened by the Netherlands.
Somebody replied.
I am all for reducing the amount of cars on the road, but first there need to be other viable options. If the closest grocery store is 20, heck even if it is 3 miles away, I don't think people should have to walk or cycle that. And public transport needs to be more reliable. People don't have to wait 20 minutes after they went shopping for 10 minutes until the next bus. You also shouldn't have to worry about your life while walking to the grocery store, whether that be 1, 5 or 20 miles away. Everything needs to be a bit closer to each other there in the US, it has to be a bit safer, and public transport has to be reliable. That last one goes for pretty much every country out there. If that doesn't happen, as much as I and others may hate to admit it, you simply can't expect people to stop taking the car. I hate when people don't press charges. So many Reddit stories are then he assaulted me and the cops asked if I wanted to press charges and I said no because I don't have time for all that. Now it's 2 days later and he's assaulting me again. My goodness, guys, start a goddamn paper trail at least. Get official records of what is happening so your case is stronger if it comes to that. I'm sure a lot of these stories are made up on the spot, thus why they had to make a dumbass excuse why charges were never pressed. Irritates me to no end. Purchasing a pet should be much more difficult. About 1 million pets are being euthanized for lack of space in US shelters in 1 year alone. We should make it much more difficult and costly to own any sort of animal. Tax it beyond reason and regulate it so that every idiot that thinks he wants a dog or a cat without being serious about it stays away from these animals. I am absolutely appalled by people that impulsively get a pet and when they find out that they can't or don't want to care about it, they let it go or surrender it to a shelter. Microchips, animal ID, increased price of mandatory checkups, heavy penalties for being caught with an unregistered animal, jail time for backyard breeders, making only state-registered breeders legal, neutering every animal that's not planned for reproduction, or paying an even higher tax if you want one that is not neutered. You get the picture, just make it happen. You don't have to share all your money when you get married. It baffles me that more married couples do not keep their own separate bank accounts. Aside from a joint account to contribute to in order to maintain bills, services, vacations, and large expenses, a couple should maintain their own individual savings account. That way, one never has to explain charges to the other, or ask for permission to purchase things one wants. I get it if one is a stay-at-home parent, but if both are working, there's absolutely no reason why this shouldn't be more common. Reddit should allow users to comment on ads. Reddit should allow users to comment on ads so when Apple posts an ad, I can say how much I love Apple but having spent $2,000 on an iMac it's rendered nearly unusable by the mouse they provided with it. Or how I really appreciate Shell and all they're doing for the environment but I don't really approve of them being involved in bumping people off in Nigeria and actively lobbying against measures to combat climate change. Also, Apple, what's going on in the DRC puts my mouse problems to shame. Just because you go out more with your friends does not mean you are more mature. This is an opinion I wanted to write here because a lot of people I know like my parents, classmates, and family members act like they are more superior because they are more extroverted and open-minded. I don't go out that much. I usually like to stay home and chill. Even if you go out a lot, you could still be doing a lot of grimy, weird, immature things out there. I may sound like a no-lifer right now, but my happy place is my home. Drinking sparkling water is an unpleasant experience. If TV static was a beverage, it would be sparkling water. My sister and I refer to it as painful water, because it is so carbonated. I'm so sick of people raving about it. It's sugar-free. But it hurts to drink. They have fruity flavors. No, it tastes like a distant memory of fruit. It's healthier than soda. I'll just drink a Diet Coke. I'm not saying that everyone who claims to like the drink is lying, but it's hard to believe people drink this bubbling beverage from hell and genuinely enjoy the experience. Personality tests are almost as useless as astrology. Every personality test I have taken, including Myers-Briggs tests, relies heavily on leading and weak agree and disagree survey questions to spit out a blurb that is supposed to be indicative of your personality. And the questions are so stupid. Things like, do your friends think you're indecisive? Well, how should I know? These blurbs are as generic and packed with traits designed to be relatable by whoever reads them, just like zodiac sign blurbs. I believe most people could read about most of the personality types and see themselves in them. I don't think these tests can be trusted to reveal anything about a person that they didn't already know about themselves. Space travel during an era of mass starvation and climate catastrophe is an atrocity. We regular folks should be actively doing everything we can to stop millionaires or even billionaires from going to outer space out of pure vanity. These people are literally killing us while claiming to be attempting to ensure humanity's continued existence in the solar system and beyond. SpaceX's own engineers say that we're decades, if not centuries, away from off-Earth colonization. I hate to sleep. I know. I love sleep, but I feel that it's a waste of time. I miss out on so much by turning off every day. What is even the point if I wake up tired every day anyway? Even when I get a good night's sleep I feel like it was unnecessary. If I could without any risks, I would never sleep again. Why do we even have to go through our day in our heads, deleting the petty stuff and focusing on what matters? I suppose life is just inherently farcic. It's so strange to me that we need 8 hours of just lying still so our brain can do its thing. We sleep a third of our life and I hate it. The fake it till you make it mentality just kills your true self. I tried this philosophy out when I was younger and it worked externally, but it ended up destroying me spiritually and emotionally. Pretending you're happy, motivated, extroverted, smart, dumb, excited. Anything that you're not just kills what you actually are. Going along with a way of being because you see that it's worked for other people is a no-no.
Somebody replied.
I was told that advice a few years ago because nobody wanted to deal with my problems. I recognized how unhealthy faking it was and stopped doing it recently, and I just feel lost and apathetic now since faking it just made me constantly be on autopilot mode. In my opinion, it's kind of like bottling up your feelings mixed with toxic positivity. Self-proclaimed empaths are just really good at imagining how they would feel in your shoes and projecting that back at you. That's why they always need comforting. I may be wrong, of course, but it seems to me that real empathy is understanding that someone else is experiencing something right now that you may or may not relate to. Real empathy is helpful and insightful, but every self-named empath I have encountered always needs to be coddled and catered to because of what other people are going through. Am I off base here?
Somebody replied.
Generally, people who go around calling themselves empaths are not empaths. Most of the real ones, if you believe in such things, or at least just the truly empathetic individuals, are quiet about it and if anything a bit embarrassed and uncomfortable when people realize they're that sensitive to others' emotions. I hope you enjoyed these opinions. Click the recommended box for another video. I think you'll enjoy it, and if you really are an empath you should know how much it would mean if you subscribe to the channel.